Motion for adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on May 13th, 2019 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded, was that Councillor Espy? Sure. Seconded by Councillor Espy. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have two delegations this evening. First of all, we have a delegation from Assessment Services, and this is on the 2020 reassessment tax impact. So I'll ask the representative to take the podium.
Good evening. My name is Mark Shapla. I'm District Supervisor at Property Assessment. With me tonight is Randine McDonald-Jackson. She's an assessor in my office. What I'm here to discuss tonight is next year is a provincial reassessment, means all the properties in the province are reassessed. A new market value is established for those properties. It doesn't mean we physically inspected each property. It's just we look at sales, and those sales indicate what the market has done, and we adjust accordingly. It's legislated that it happens every 2 years. The last reassessment was April 1st, 2016. This one, we're using April 1st, 2018 reference date. So we're going to look at sales between April 1st, 2016 and April 1st, 2018 to get to a new market value. Randine has passed around the tax impact reports. We can only give them to the councillors. What the councillors do with them after is entirely up to you. So we handed them to the councillors. If you open to page 2, basically this is telling us what each property class in the city has done or will do for the April 1st, 2018 reassessment. Single family residential on average is going to go up about 13%. Apartment 9.7%, commercial 9.2%, and you can read the rest. Overall average is about 12% for the city. What does that mean? That means when you're doing your budgets for 2020, the assessment is going up 12%. That means that assuming the same budgetary needs as current, the mill rate should be able to be adjusted by 12% to offset the 12% assessment increase. If we turn to page 4 of that report, this basically gives us a breakdown of what the 12% property assessment increase means. The chart in the bottom left corner, and this again is assuming same budgetary needs, no increased spending. 35% of ratepayers should see a decrease in taxes. 21% should see an increase of greater than 10% or $100. And 44% should see an increase of less than 10% or $100. So that's projections, again, based on same budgetary needs and no big increased expenditures. Page 5 of that same report shows basically what I've been, properties with an assessment increase less than 11.7% should see a municipal tax decrease. Properties with an assessment increase greater than 11.7% should see a municipal tax increase. That's a lot of information in this report. It's for next year. It's for 2020. It's not affecting 2019 taxes. Everyone will be getting a notice, likely within the next couple days. Every ratepayer in the city will get a notice. On that notice, it'll give them numbers to contact if they have a concern with their new assessment. Your Board of Revision appeal deadline is September 9th. So if anyone has concerns with their assessment that they can't speak to us at assessment and resolve, the appeal deadline is September 9th, and the Board of Revision is September 23rd. if there are any characteristic changes to properties between when the spring notice, which is what everyone's going to get, and the fall notice, only those people will get a new notice. In the fall, there'll be new notices for anyone where, say we go add a new garage or some renovations or something, they'd get a second notice before the appeal deadline in the fall.
So were you open for
I'm
questions?
open for questions, yep.
Okay, did council have questions for Mark? I had a question. I'm just thinking the last time the presentation was done. So if my recollection is correct, looks like farmland is not increasing at the same rate it was the last reassessment.
Correct, I have that with me. Last reassessment, farmland increased 17% last time.
Okay. And single-family residential in this area has increased, it's up significantly, 13.6?
13.6 this reassessment, yes.
And how did that compare the last time?
Last time residential actually went down. Last time it had gone down 3.1%. The market has rebounded since then. The other thing to keep in mind is this isn't just market, there are characteristic changes. Maybe there were some new bigger properties assessed since April 1st, 2016 that are now showing in our assessment values. So it's not necessarily all market change. There could be some characteristic changes too.
Any other questions from council? Well, thank you very much for coming out and presenting this to us, and we'll be watching our mailboxes over the next couple of days.
One thing I should add, sorry, is that these will be on our website in the fall, these reports. This is the first time we do this. Normally, we just give them to the councils, but they will be on our assessment website in the fall. So public will be able to access them in the fall.
Okay, and we can, obviously, from what I heard earlier, we can share this with other people if they ask?
They're your reports, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Our second delegation this evening is a delegation from the Canadian Red Cross, and this is Allison Everett.
Hi.
Good evening.
So thank you very much for having us tonight. So my name is Ali. I'm with the Canadian Red Cross Emergency Management Program for Manitoba and Nunavut. This is my colleague Jenna Lee Dow, and she's here on behalf of that program as well. We just wanted to speak with you to let you know a new program that we're looking to start here in Portage. So what you may be familiar with us for as Red Cross is how we help in large-scale disasters. So you would have seen our involvement in events like Fort McMurray, the BC fires, Manitoba fires. That's kind of what we're in the news for, is those larger scale events. But what we're actually really priding ourselves on is our small building block program, which is called our Personal Disaster Assistance Program. I have some information to pass around to you guys about the program. But essentially, we have 9 teams all around the province of Manitoba. This is not just a Manitoba program, it's a program that's all around the country. It's a big part of the Canadian Red Cross. It's a part of the Red Cross around the world. It's actually done in the US, Europe, different areas as well. And yeah, it's really just a program that helps at a community level and really seeks to build community level teams that are supporting. So I'll let Jenna speak to that. Okay, and I'll give you guys these.
As Ali hands out our information on our team. So what we're looking for is our personal disaster assistant team is an intermediate care team that we provide from a group of volunteers. It's kind of that stopgap time between a family in need where they're needing assistance either late at night or depending on when a disaster strikes. So between either them trying to contact family, finding insurance or anything along those lines, our team is alongside to give them assistance up to 72 hours. So the services we provide for those 72 hours are lodging, clothing, emergency food, and essential supplies. So those all can range from many different things. We understand that all families have different needs, so whether that's lodging is staying in a hotel, or you want to go stay with family and friends, but say you need bedding or that family needs other resources to help you stay there, we can provide that for you. So the way it works is our volunteers are trained in need assessments. So they would sit down with the family or the main beneficiary, and you would do a need assessments on that family and exactly what they need in that time. So as I said, whether it would be lodging, food, or emergency supplies. That emergency supplies can be anything from like glasses, medication, anything that family would need within those 72 hours to be safe and feel like they're at ease after a disaster. So as I said, it's not one size fits all. It's really based on what that exact family needs. So it's not a certain cut check or a certain amount of money. It's really based on what that family needs in that time. So just to quickly discuss the benefits of having this team built within your community. So we train all of our volunteers. They go through a couple different trainings depending on their level. We are hoping to have 17 volunteers, correct? And 3 of those would be on a supervisor level, so they would have a little bit more training than the basic responder. And then also on top of that, they get first aid training as well. So one of the benefits is having those skilled volunteers within your community, and you can also use them for other, which hopefully wouldn't happen, but either like a larger scale disaster in that sense as well. Another benefit to the community is to get money back in the community. One of the reasons why we have these set in specific areas, and we want them to be from the community, is that all the dollars are going back within the community. We wouldn't want we wouldn't want to have something happen here in Portage and then refer them back to Winnipeg and give all the services in Winnipeg. We want to make sure that they're giving back to their community, where they're staying here, getting their resources here, whether that's groceries or food or a hotel to stay in. Another one would be the in-person assistance. I think that's one of the greatest things about this program is it can be done over the phone, but we find such benefit in it being community members talking to community members and being able to see either a familiar face or someone that you may know in that time of need. Lastly, it also just maximizes your supports within your community. So as I said, again, just having those trained volunteers and those people within your community that you are able to then use for other reasons as well. And then lastly, it's all for free, so there's no bill back to the community. We're not asking for anything in return. We're really just wanting your support here moving forward. Ali and I have been in the community for the last about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, just having conversations and discussing with people, and we know that you guys know your community best, and maybe people who would really want to give back in this way, or an opportunity to be trained in this way, or just give back to their community in another way. I think that's about it. And Ali, anything you want to add lastly?
No, just if anyone has questions.
Yeah, just if anyone has questions. I know we kind of sped through it, but we know you guys probably have a lot of things to discuss today. But yeah, we really are just here looking for your support. You've probably seen me running around the streets, crossing, talking to businesses, handing out posters and all those things. So we just wanted you guys to meet us personally, and also have our information if you know of anyone or any way you can help us out, try and find the right people and put them in the right place for this. So yeah.
Okay, we'll open up for questions. Councillor Draycott?
Thank you, Your Worship. So you said you are currently looking for 17 volunteers, 3 in a supervisory role within Portage la Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have volunteers established already that you're building upon, or are you looking for 17 new people to come to the table?
We are looking for 17 new people to come to the table. Thankfully, we have one who's fully set in place, and we just interviewed another person last week. So the ball is rolling. It is a process, though, for us to build this team because we do pretty intensive background checks and everything like that. And our training is also usually about like a couple day courses or multiple, depending on what role you're wanting to be in. So we're hoping by the end of the year to hopefully have those 17 people in place. And we're hoping, because we're kind of starting to talk to everyone and do these types of things all at once, that everyone's going to kind of be through that pipeline around the same time. So the team will kind of come out hopefully at one time instead of scattered. Fingers crossed. In a perfect world.
Councillor Knox?
So that's kind of my question too. You said training for a volunteer. Like, what's a time commitment for a volunteer?
Yeah, I can speak to it more intensely.
So in terms of time commitment for a volunteer, we are asking our teams to be on call 24/7, 365. So they do maintain an on-call schedule so that they're always available and ready to respond. So there is a bit of a time commitment in that sense. However, once you do have that large enough team, then you're really only on for like 1 or 2 weeks at a time every 3 months. Outside of that, we really just ask people to attend, fairly regular meetings where at those we do some check-ins, we do some run-throughs of how things have gone, we run through some practice scenarios, we get them to know their teammates a little bit better, and we provide that kind of additional support and training. And then in the onboarding process, like Jenna said, it's a couple of days of training. We offer a free standard first aid course, a couple online courses. So it's not a huge time commitment, but we find it's a really good balance of being enough time to keep you involved and keep you engaged and feeling ready without kind of drawing on all of your time. Because we know that in a lot of communities, it's the same people that are volunteering over and over and over. So we don't necessarily want to, monopolize people or take up all their time from their other commitments, but we do want to give you enough so that you feel ready.
Thank you.
Councillor Meyer?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. First of all, let me just say I think it looks like an exceptional program, and knowing Portage la Prairie as well as I do, I have no doubt that you will fill the volunteer spots through course of time. I have a couple of questions. I guess the first question that I would have for you is that if somebody or when somebody suffers a personal disaster, how do they get a hold of you? I see the number on the bottom, but is that the only way? I mean, you wouldn't be perusing the papers or you wouldn't be going to them. You're waiting for a referral to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are looking for referrals to us. That is the best way to get in touch with us. So the phone number that you see at the bottom of the page is actually a Western Canada call center. So every single person who's had a house fire from Manitoba West is calling into this number. They're triaged by the call center based on geography, and then they're sent to the appropriate 24/7 on-call team to support. The other way that we do referrals is we're always looking for opportunities to speak with media in the communities that we're with. We have tons of posters. If you go around and look in pretty much any business at this point, we've sent Jenna in to put up some posters because we really want people to be aware, because there's nothing worse than hearing that somebody needed help and they didn't know to access it. But the main route that we really do rely upon is the fire halls. And so those fire departments are really kind of our strongest route in getting that message out. So we have been speaking with your team here. They've been fantastic and super supportive and really receptive to learning about the program. And those are really those key members of the community, because they're the ones that are going to the call and they know about it immediately. And the good thing for them too is that they are able to kind of work with our team to find what method fits best. So if they want them on scene, if they want them 2 hours after, whatever that looks like, but then we know that that information is getting out to people, and then it really takes a lot of that work from the fire department so they can focus on their role, and then allow our team to kind of step in and do that support with the people that are affected.
Good, good. And just the second part to my question is just in regards to where it says your ability to cope using its own resources. Would that mean that if they had other resources or other insurance things that you don't get involved at that point in time, or?
No, we are willing and able to help anybody who needs any kind of support. So whether that's kind of, the full gamut of all the services that we offer, like you need absolutely everything. You need the lodging, you need the food, you need clothing, we can do that. We've definitely had people, though, where the fire department has referred them to us and they said, look, I don't think this person really needs anything, but just walk them through the next steps. And our teams are definitely highly trained in that as well, to say, have you contacted insurance? Can you speak to this person? Have you looked at, going to your family for this kind of thing? They'll really walk you through all of those pieces, and so you could get $0 of support from the Canadian Red Cross and still feel entirely supported along the way by our teams.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. That's all, Your Worship.
Are there other questions? I have a question for you, Ali. So where would the 17 volunteers, where would they work out of? Are you opening a storefront or?
No, we have only 2 storefronts in all of Manitoba, actually, but we do have the 9 teams right now, and we're going to be going up to about 14 or 15 teams by the end of the year. What we find to be really effective is the teams actually work with each other to kind of determine where they want to meet. Sometimes they'll meet at a fire hall for their meetings, and they'll be involved in that sense. Sometimes they meet at each other's houses. Sometimes they meet at a church or another space that they can rent. It's really wherever feels best in that community and where they feel most comfortable with meeting each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming out this evening, and we will mention this around, certainly, and I don't think you'll have any trouble. I think you'll have your full 17 before the end of the year for sure.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the community. We've had a ton of support so far.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent.
We're going to move into public hearings. We'll open the public hearing for PC 9-19. This is rezoning bylaw 19-8690 amendment. This is second, third readings. Northwest corner of Alexander Avenue and Caledonia Street. Councillor Meyer, is there anyone here to speak to the motion, to the hearing, or for or against?
Are we allowed to ask a question here?
You could certainly speak to the hearing, sir. Take the podium, and if you wouldn't mind telling us your name for the record.
My name is Paul Rand. We sent the letter of objection. There's two households, and it was very simple. We just we were wondering what's the big rush in the city to change a perfectly good green space into R160, and it seems like it's only benefiting one person, Mr. and Mrs. Kent. And we have a very open question. What's in it for the city? Why is the city in such a big rush to rezone this area?
Mr. Rand, for the hearing, we're here to hear your objections to it. We're not answering questions, but we will hear your objections. So your objection would be to leave it the same?
Yes, we'd like to see the application rejected. Yes, that's what I'm just basically. I could read the letter, I guess, but it's all there.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Diane, we've got the letter on file.
I forgot to bring my copy. I didn't think we would actually be allowed to speak. So,
I can read it out.
thank you.
We, the undersigned, would like to register our disagreement with the subject application. The proposal is to subdivide 2 lots on the northwest corner of Alexander Avenue and Caledonia Street and rezone the lots from open space recreation to residential single family. We live across from these lots and object to this change. The land in question has been green space as long as we have lived there, 30 years plus. This city needs to retain designated green spaces for future generations. It contributes to quality of life. Does the city really want to get rid of these areas forever just so someone can make a buck? Also, somewhat concerning is that the applicants don't appear to even be remaining in Portage. From a city revenue point of view, surely there are already plenty of undeveloped and properly zoned residential single-family lots within Portage limits. It seems a shame to add 2 more at the expense of green space. In conclusion, we are asking that this zoning request be rejected. Signed, Paul Rand and Carol Rand at 39 Alexander and Donna Klein at 497 Caledonia Street.
Okay, thank you. So that letter pretty well captures.
It does. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else here to speak to the hearing, for or against? Okay, we'll close the hearing.
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for a rezoning bylaw 19-8690, Connie Faye Kent and William Kent, northwest corner of Alexander Avenue and Caledonia Street, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Knox. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Okay, and moving on, Your Worship.
Moving on.
Moving on, in front of you, you'll have a report to council. It comes from, of course, the Portage la Prairie Planning District. File number PC 919, May the 27th of 2019 was originally the hearing date. Property is regarding a part of parcels A, B, and C, Plan 42638, lots 1 to 7 and 41 to 47, Block 6, Plan 407, and lots 45 to 51, Block 5, Plan 407, the northwest corner of Alexander Avenue and Caledonia Street in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Just a little too close.
What am I doing? Too close? Popping my peas again. Excuse me for that. Get a little too close to the mic. Council, the issue that we have in front of us, of course, is to rezone the property from OR, or Open Space Recreation, to R160 Residential Single Family. A couple of alternatives that we have, and I'll run through them quickly, is as per the Planning Act and after considering the results of the public meeting, Council must, within 90 days, choose one of the 3 actions to deal with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Because we had a objection, leaves us only a couple other options. It says Council may give the bylaw second reading. The situation we have is under Section 77, where objections are received. Council still may give the bylaw second reading and must provide notice to all objectors. Or under Section 74, Council can make major changes to the bylaw, in which case it must be re-advertised and a new public hearing meeting held. Or Council may also pass a resolution not to proceed with the bylaw, and this would be done under Section 75B, and Council must send out the required notices. We did bring up the background last time. I won't go through the entire development plan, but I already referred to the property that's in question. The Portage la Prairie Development Plan does state a number of characteristics and patterns that are adherent to the property. The application has been circulated to various city departments. There have no concerns been expressed. The application has also been advertised in the Daily Graphic for 2 consecutive weeks, circulated to the province, and public notices have been sent to all owners of property within a 100-meter radius of the proposed development as per Section 168 of the Planning District. As we talked about, first reading was originally done back on March the 25th of 2019. The documents were also circulated to provincial departments and agencies with no objections. Provincial planning recommends approval to the zoning bylaw. So with that said, and the recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the application to rezone the land as northwest corner of Alexander Avenue and Caledonia Street, and legally described as part of parcels A, B, and C, Plan 42638, lots 1 to 7 and 41 to 47, Block 6, Plan 407, and lots 45 to 51, Block 5, Plan 407. The parish of Portage la Prairie from OR, or Open Space Recreation Zone, to R160, Residential Single Family Zone, and that bylaw number 19-8690 be read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Wall. Just before I ask for questions or comments on the motion, Mr. Brooks, could you just give me a little bit of information? Open Space Recreation Zone. Now, this is privately owned property.
Yes, it's privately owned property. It's not city-owned property.
And so the other properties around there are zoned residential currently?
To the south, to the east, and to the southeast, the rest of it all is zoned R160, yes.
Okay. And what kind of uses can open space recreation, what can that be used for? I guess what I'm asking, what's the difference between residential zoning and open space recreational?
Open space residential probably limits on what you can do for housing on it, I believe. I'd have to look it up to find out for sure. Whereas residential single family R160 allows you to do a single family dwelling on it, no issues.
Okay.
Just for information too, because we've had an objection, you can only give it second reading. Just remember that as per the...
Okay, so you can go to second reading, and then instead of third reading, what happens next?
Because we have an objection to it, we have to send a notice out to the objector, and he has the opportunity to show up at the Planning District Board where we have another hearing and he has the opportunity to speak there. And if the planning district board then decides and sends a recommendation back to council.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from council? Councillor Draycott?
Sorry, just for clarification, Mr. Brooks, you said that open recreation, there was the possibility of putting housing on that, but it limits the housing that you can potentially put there? I apologize, just wanted further clarification.
It limits it, or you may not be able to do it at all. If you give me a minute, I can probably find out about it, but I don't know it right off the top of my head.
We're okay waiting? We're okay waiting?
We're okay waiting. Sure.
Dwellings are dwellings single family on existing parcels of land or a conditional use. So there's an existing parcel of land there that he has built on already. So there's no other existing parcels of land that he has there that he can build on. So he couldn't build any more on there.
So currently, what's built is built if the zoning does not change.
That's correct. Yeah, that's hence the rezoning, so that he can have zoned properly. He can have them all then as R160.
Right. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
So then my understanding now, Your Worship, we will not commence with the third reading. It goes back now to the Planning District.
That's correct. So we'll open the public hearing for variation order PC 28-19. This is for Vocari Developments, City of Portage la Prairie, southwest corner of 18th Street Northwest and Park Drive. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? For Vocari Developments? One more time, anyone here to speak to the hearing? Okay, entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation order PC 28-19, the Bakari Developments, City of Portage la Prairie, southwest corner of 18th Street Northwest and Park Drive, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Wall. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Your Worship, before I get into the report to Council, I'm under the understanding now that there's been more information that is going to be coming forward, and I would like to request an adjournment to June the 10th, which is the next Council meeting, in order to address the report to Council at that time.
Okay. Have a motion for adjournment?
For deferral to a particular date?
June 10th.
Which is the next Council meeting.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Wall, that the public hearing be deferred till Council of June 10th. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the public hearing for variation order PC 29-19. This is for Mark and Rosa Haberl.
Your Worship,
Pardon me?
if I may declare an interest in this particular item and ask that I be recused for this.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing for variation order PC 29-19. This is for Mark and Rosie Haberl, 969161 Alberta Limited. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Okay. A motion to close the hearing, Councillor Meyer?
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation order PC 29-19 for Mark and Rosie Haberl, 969161 Alberta Limited, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Knox. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Okay, if you'll notice the report to council in regards to a request for variation for Mark and Rosie Haberl, I trust I'm pronouncing that right, 969161 Alberta Limited, the location of 103 3rd Street Northeast, lots 151, 152, Plan 3. So the issue, council, that we have is to vary the restriction of no residences on the main floor and to allow a residence on the main floor in a C2 central commercial zone. In this case, we have two alternatives. One is to approve the variation application as presented, or to deny the variation application. The background is that Mark and Rosie Haberl are applying for a variation order to vary the restriction of no residences on the main floor and to allow a residence on the main floor in a C2 central commercial zone. The applicant would like to use the rear 365.76 square meters for a single family suite. The remainder will be used as some type of commercial use. The application has been circulated to the various city departments, and there's been no concerns. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. With that, the recommendation, and be it resolved, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Mark and Rosie Haberl, or 969161 Alberta Limited, to vary the restriction of no residences on the main floor and to allow a residence on the main floor in a C2 central commercial zone at the property known as 103 3rd Street Northeast, which is legally described as lots 151 and 152, Plan 3 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Draycott?
Thank you, Your Worship. It is noted that they would like to convert the rear 365.76 square meters for a single family suite, but it does not indicate what the total square meter of the building is. So I was wondering if we have any idea as to how much of the building would be converted to a family suite from a percentage point, or if we know the total square meter of the building. Sorry, Mr. Brooks.
Councillor Meyer, probably can.
I would really
Mr.
prefer
Brooks?
that unless you'd like me to go out and measure it right now, but
I believe it's about half of it.
Okay.
I just have one question, Your Worship, and this would be through, of course, Your Worship, to Mr. Brooks. I guess the only question I would have, and I trust we've probably gone through it, there's certain grandfather clauses that happen with some of our commercial places. I know that there's one in the north end that is a store that if it was to not be there anymore, that they could not rebuild a store there. I trust my understanding is correct. Is that the same situation with this? Meaning, if in the unlikely event that the place was to burn down, are they allowed, is it now commercial and residentially zoned? I'm just a little bit confused.
No, the land is zoned commercial. It's a C2 zone,
Okay.
period. So commercial use, certain commercial uses are permitted or conditional in there.
Right.
The bylaw states that if you want to have a single-family residence, they have to be above the first floor in a C2 zone. Hence
okay.
the application to have the requirement, because there's no two-story there, they want to have the residence in the back and have a commercial business off the front of it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Councillor Espy to return.
Just checking to see that that's where Preston was going and not.
Don't know what I meant. One or two close.
I think you guys measure that house.
I thought you were wrong. Okay, that's all of our public hearings. Just in time, we're going to move into committee, and Finance Legislative Property Committee up tonight is Councillor Espy for Councillor Buds.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let me get my bearings here for 1 second. The first item on the agenda is to consider the offer of Carpair Canada Industrial Park Corp. To purchase 317.72 acres of city land for the purposes of industrial development. The city has received an offer to purchase the lands described as, there's parcel 1 and parcel 2. I will not read you the legal description of all of them, but they are there listed. And the proponent is proposing to purchase the entirety of these lands for a combined sum of $2,211,200. The 2019 assessed value is $2,488,800. And just for clarification, parcel 1 is the land that is surrounding and to the north of Campbell Soup. Parcel 2 is land located in the McMillan Industrial Park. So it is the administrative recommendation that the council approve the sale of 317.72 acres of land to Carpair Canada Industrial Park Corp. For $2,211,200 and authorize the city manager and administration team to negotiate the suitable terms of sales and development agreement with the following conditions identified. 1, that the proponent ensure the commencement of the first industrial project within 2 years with the possibility of an additional year extension if mutually agreed upon, and 2, that the proponent recognize that any lands not developed within 3 years may be reacquired by the city for the purchase price of less 30%, respective of any lost opportunities as a result of lack of available zoned land for those intended projects. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Meyer. Questions or comments on the motion? Okay. Councillor Espy?
I will make a comment because this is a pretty big deal. We've been trying to do something with a lot of that land for a long, long time. And if you remember, there was many years where that land was available for not much money at all. And it's nice to see a company coming in and looking to really develop something in our community.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Once again, just to echo Councillor Espy's thoughts, I know that land's been vacant for, what, 2.5 million years up to now, but you know what, it really is exciting to see that we do have other businesses that are certainly already established within Canada and so on that are looking at Portage la Prairie, and that they feel that based on our resources and what we have available, that they're willing to invest within our city. So it's really exciting to see stuff like this happening. I know that we've done our diligence, and I am really excited about this moving forward, which means I would be voting in favor of it.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Draycott?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think you're probably hearing a lot of not hearing things because there were some questions brought forward last committee meeting in regards to this offer to purchase. However, saying that, I would like to say that I think that this speaks highly to what we've been talking about for the last few years about investment in our community. How it is possible to have one investment, create another investment, create another investment, but I would say that that doesn't happen by itself. There is a great team working at the city and through PRED right now that is making things happen in our community. And it's not blowing smoke. Things are happening and we're seeing them happen. So I would like to commend Mr. May for his work on this and our administration team, Mr. Pito, Ms. McFarland on their work for this as well, to make this deal come to the table and have something very out of what we're used to seeing happen in our community, something that we're considering tonight. So thank you for your work on that.
The only thing I'll add is that the company is bringing their chairman out tomorrow morning, and I'll have a chance to meet with him. And administration and PRED have been working on the agreements, well, I know through the weekend and most of last week, and continues to go on, but it'll be a real great chance to be able to meet the chair of that company and to hear a little bit more about their plans for this land if they do in fact purchase it. So looking forward to that. Well, hearing no more questions, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And the next item, Your Worship, is the issue of providing changes to the local vehicle for hire bylaw. This has been something that the administration's been working on for quite some time, and it's dealing with business licenses and driver's permits. So the Local Vehicle for Hire Act came into force on February 28, 2018. As a result, the city implemented its authority to license and regulate vehicles for hire operating within their boundaries through Bylaw 18-8666, which received third reading and approval by Council April 23, 2018. After using this bylaw for the past year, experience has indicated changes were warranted. Further, Council has requested that administration review the city's local vehicle for hire bylaw and initiate changes to provide clear direction for the requirements needed to be granted a local vehicle for hire license and/or driver's permits. Changes incorporated into this bylaw are: for the local vehicle for hire business licenses, vehicle inspections will be accepted if completed within 30 days of the license application or renewal. The previous 15-day requirement was difficult for businesses to meet as licenses expire on December 31st annually, a peak time for these business services, and which requires a vehicle to be taken out of service for the inspection to be completed. Lengthening the time period to 30 days does not incur significant added risk. Vehicles will be allowed of any age provided they have a clean inspection and pass the city's inspection physically in good working order. The requirement for general liability insurance of $1 million or greater, and LVFH insurance with A, B, C, and D time bands remain. For local vehicle for hire driver's permits, acceptable driver's abstracts and criminal records have clear requirements. A simplified vulnerable person search will be used. Acceptable searches indicate no record. Driver's photos are accepted when taken within 30 days of the permit application or renewal. A driver's medical report or eligibility to work in Canada and Manitoba are no longer required as other regulatory bodies measures prevent these unacceptable from obtaining this permit. A Class 4 Manitoba driver's license continues to be required. A business license for the local vehicle for hire business remains a requirement, with the business's address determining the fees associated. For those businesses or persons denied a license or permit, a new appeal board will be implemented. Further details are provided in the bylaw. So it is the recommendation that bylaw number 19-8694 to revise the previous local vehicle for hire bylaw of the City of Portage la Prairie be given first reading. And I so move.
I think that's second reading.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, pardon me. It is second reading. Bylaw number 19-8694 to revise the previous local vehicle for hire bylaw of the City of Portage la Prairie be given second reading.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Draycott. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things. One, just going back to the analysis, I do understand that the original bylaw was approved back, of course, on April the 23rd, 2018, and I think we know why we're revisiting it today. I guess the question I have through Your Worship there is we did consult back at that point in time a number of the taxi services in town, and I believe tried to work together in order to create a bylaw. Obviously, I understand the city creates the bylaw, and the businesses conform to what the bylaw is. I do get that. But we did ask for their consultation at that point in time. So I guess my first question is did we ask for the consultation in regards to the amendments?
We'll, through the chair to Carla.
Okay, regarding that question, on the second go-around for the revisions, we did not do a formal consultation with local vehicles for hire. We did, however, survey all the cities in Manitoba as to what their regulations were, and we used that to form a discussion paper that was brought forward to council some time ago, asking, which ones would be appropriate based on our situation as to what we thought would work best. So no, in short answer is no, we did not do any consultation this time.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I really appreciate that. And I certainly don't want to take away any of the work that you and your administration has done, because I know there's a ton of work that's already been put into this. I guess the only two other questions that I'd have quickly regarding that is, one is there any enforcement or creation of any enforcement areas to this? I don't see any in the amendment. Is that?
I think what I should do best with that is refer that to Phil Carpenter as our Director of Public Safety, who oversees the bylaw officers who provide enforcement of this bylaw.
Basically what has happened is the RCMP are directly involved with this, that go out with our bylaw officers. And they have, they'll cite some certain dates in reference to that. They have the updated current working document on who has valid licenses as far as the businesses go and the drivers, because that basically almost changes on a weekly basis. So yeah, we are keeping the communication current with the RCMP. Bylaw is restricted to the yearly inspection of the vehicles. But as far as pulling over any vehicle for hire, that is up to the RCMP, because our bylaw people do not have that ability to do that.
Super. Thank you very much, Ms. McFarland and Mr. Carpenter. So I guess the next thing that I would just ask, if I may, Your Worship, is that I would like to maybe get council support a little bit to maybe defer this reading, if we possibly could, to the next council meeting, which would be on June the 10th. Just in the aspect that maybe we could just maybe have a conversation with the local vehicle for hires in the city of Portage la Prairie, and just really kind of feel out. I mean, I get it at the end of the day that it's our responsibility to set the bylaw and for them to adhere to it. But because this is within our control, we did already have one shot at it, and we did go back to revise it. I just don't want to have to look at it again in the next while and revise it anymore if council feels that they need to do that. I figure we can get it done at this point in time and go forward from there. So I would make, and I trust I'm doing this right, I would make the request to defer this to the next meeting on June the 10th, but in the meantime have a consultation with the livery for hire drivers within the city of Portage la Prairie.
So a motion to defer till June 10th. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Espy? Okay. Questions, comments on the motion? Councillor Espy?
Is June the 10th going to be enough time to arrange this consultation and have a report back to council?
Good question.
I would, oh, sorry.
Would you like me to respond? Well, let me give you some history on how we've done consultation in past. A number of years ago, previously under the livery bylaw, and prior to my coming to the city, as I understand it, we did one person-to-person consultation. Unfortunately, that particular group is quite a fiery group, and the meeting had to be cut short because there was I guess, some verbal disagreements. This past time, when we first put the bylaw in place in 2018, we did a SurveyMonkey online, and we used that in order to prepare the bylaw at that time. There were things that we could not do at that time, so I think the best fit would be for us to do a SurveyMonkey again. However, I do somewhat agree with Councillor Espy that I don't think 2 weeks would be sufficient to get the results and actually incorporate them into the revised, or at least bring back some information for discussion at council.
With that said, I would certainly amend my request to defer to a later date if council would be so willing to support that.
So rather than the date, can you amend the motion to when consultation has taken place? Is that
If I said,
The only discussion that can be had is as to the time and date.
okay?
so if I would say 3 months from now, I know that's kind of a stretch. I never picked a date. I'm just trying to look at what date. Maybe I could ask for administration recommendation.
I think we could make it work by the end of June. And the only reason why I say that is we do have some drivers that we have told that new bylaws are coming and somewhat relaxed more, like some of the things you've seen from the discussion. And we've actually given them an extension on their driver renewals. So I would try to wrap this up soon. Yeah, I think June 24th.
June 24th?
Yeah, so that would give us almost a full month.
Councillor Knox, you had a question?
Yeah, I just have a question. So right now, you're not approving any new vehicle for hire, are you? Or is it under the old bylaw?
I will say it's a little muddy right now. What we have been doing is, because we have drivers permits expiring every month, we've been trying to accommodate them somewhat under the new rules. If they bring in, for example, their medical certificate, which was required under the current rules, we'll accept that. But we don't go out of our way to ask for that requirement because we feel that will be changing, although we don't have council approval on that yet. We're trying to be accommodating to what the drivers are looking for, plus also being very conscious about passenger safety.
Thank you. Okay, so Councillor Meyer, you had an amendment to the motion?
Yes, so I would request that we defer the second reading to June the 24th council meeting in order to just garner a little more information from the players involved. I'm not quite sure exactly how to word it, Your Worship. I just feel if we, well, I guess maybe I don't know if I can still speak to it or not, but I just feel if we did consult with them the first time, and there's nothing on here that I disagree with, I think it's great, and we're taking some steps doing it, but I think it would just be fair to at least consult with, and it may not change anything, but at least consult with the current people that are in town. It's important to us, so.
And would you be able to read back the motion?
I just have motion to defer the second reading of the bylaw to the June 24th council meeting.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for the amended? Councillor Espy? Okay. So just to be clear, we're voting on the amendment to the motion. Okay.
The only discussion that can be had is to date and time, so.
We've had it. Okay. All those in favor of the amended motion? And that's carried.
Now the original.
And that concludes the finance, I think, is that the end of that particular item now that that it is, or are we just voting on the amendment?
We're just going to get some clarification from Councillor Wall.
As Diane said, we voted on the amended motions.
Right, okay.
That's fine.
Okay, and that concludes
That would conclude.
finance for this evening.
It does.
Now we're going to move into city planning and economic development. Councillor Meyer, please.
Thank you again, Your Worship. This was on committee meeting last council, and of course, there's nothing I really need to speak to, once again, other than to, I think I'll even echo Councillor Draycott's words when she talked about the team that's put together. We have over $60 million in permits, which translates to a ton of work, not only for, of course, our planning district department, but also our PRED. So between them, our city administration, and the planning district, and of course, PRED, I think they've done a heck of a job managing what we have right now. So I just want to congratulate to them at that point. That said, any questions? None.
Hearing none.
That, Your Worship, is the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Community Services Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Worship. Nothing this evening for Community Services Committee.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Yes, Your Worship, Waterworks has nothing this evening.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
And Public Safety Committee, Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing to report this evening.
We have no deferred business this evening. However, we do have some new business. First is the CWWF Contribution Agreement, Phase 1. Councillor Wall, please.
Yes, Your Worship, as soon as I get my computer reopened here. So the issue is whether or not to make a request to the province of Manitoba for an extension to the project deadline specified in the Water Pollution Control Facility Upgrade Phase 1 Low-Rate Anaerobic Reactor Contribution Agreement. In July 2017, the City applied to the province of Manitoba for funding under the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund for Phase 1 of the upgrading and expansion of the Water Pollution Control Facility. The province accepted the city's application and prepared a contribution agreement which was signed in February 2018. The project is anticipated to be well under the budget and agreement amount of $28,750,000. The project deadline was specified as March 31st, 2019. However, construction work is not anticipated to be finally completed until July 2019. The warranty period is expected to begin in June 2019 and end in June 2020. The city will be responsible for any costs incurred during the warranty period, which is expected to be less than $10,000 for engineering services. The province of Manitoba retains 10% of the construction funding until the city advises that the project is completed and will make no further claims. To allow for any delays in completing the remaining work or delays in processing payments to contractors, it's recommended that the request for the project deadline extension be September 30th, 2019. The recommendation is, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie respectfully request an extension to the Water Pollution Control Facility Upgrade Phase 1 LRAR project deadline as specified in the contribution agreement CWWF Project 1082 to September 30th, 2019.
Moved by Councillor Wall and seconded by Councillor Draycott. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Next item of new business is Transportation Committee. Councillor Espy, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue is to award the tender for the 2019 pavement program. The tender for the 2019 pavement contract was advertised in the Daily Graphic, Construction Association of Rural Manitoba, Winnipeg Construction Association, Merck's, and the city webpage. The tender closed on May the 17th, 2019. The tender has followed the new procurement process that incorporates sustainability factors. Ratings were based on a total possible 100 points awarded, with 10 points for sustainability factors and 90 points for pricing. The evaluation does not consider factors such as experience, qualifications, ability to perform work, nor past performance. Now, there's a chart attached that outlines the scoring system, and Messington Construction came in at the top with 100 out of 100 possible points. Messington Construction's schedule anticipates a start date of June the 15th, 2019. However, it will take some time after the award to obtain the performance bond and finalize the contract. The 2019 pavement contract includes the following work, and there are 9 items there for your perusal. Aside from that, enhanced operating funding for rural municipalities, the province of Manitoba has added $10 million to the municipal operating basket to support infrastructure needs. The funding is allocated based on population thresholds, the city of Portage la Prairie having a population greater than 10,001 will receive $246,000. The additional funding will cover approximately 40% of this year's pavement contract. Overlay program. The 2019 overlay budget is $371,000, with an additional $246,000 from the Manitoba government for a total budget of $617,000. The contract tender prices came in just below the pre-tender estimates. Gigot Avenue Path. The 2019 budget includes $30,000 for sidewalk and path construction. The budget will be used to overlay the existing path from 18th Street to Saskatchewan Avenue. The tendered price is $32,250. Lincoln Avenue Patch. The 2019 budget includes $60,000 with $30,000 funding from the RM of Portage. The tender price is $19,383.25, with half to come from the RM. Funding sources excluding GST, the total budget including fully utilized provincial funding, the funding from the RM, and the amount of 50% of the actual tender price for Lincoln Avenue is approximately $707,000. The low tender is a total of $637,960 net of the GST rebate. So it is the administrative recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie award the 2019 pavement contract as specified in Tender 19 OPS 013 to Messington Construction Limited for the price of $669,858, including taxes. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Meyer. Questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Meyer?
Sorry, I just have one quick question, and just from, I guess, my own information, how do we prioritize the streets that are being done?
Well, that's a really good question. Council and the mayor don't do that.
I know.
A lot of people believe that we do. Mr. Braden and his team, they prioritize that, and then they send us a list. Did you want to talk a little bit about it, Kelly?
The annual or annually we do a street rating report internally, so we evaluate pretty much every street within the city on an annual basis. We look at things like the amount of traffic on the street, the plus the sewer and water that's needs to be replaced on the, under the street before we pave. So if we have to do sewer and water, unfortunately, that street might get shuffled back a little bit till that work gets done. So there are a number of factors that we look at when we do the evaluation, and so we have a long list, very long list of streets, and a limited budget. So.
Thank you very much. For sure.
And I know a lot of folks that phone me will be very pleased to see 20th and made it on to the...
a few myself, yes.
I was going to say that too. I'm glad to see it made the list.
That was the most popular street for calls. Any further questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Next and last item, new business, is municipal assistance grant indexing, and this is finance. Councillor Meyer, please. Or, sorry, Councillor Espy, please.
I know you get us confused lots.
Happens all the time. Thank you, Your Worship. The issue is to request that the Association of Manitoba Municipalities lobby the province to establish a predictable, long-term system of indexing the annual municipal assistance grant provided to all Manitoba municipalities. The province of Manitoba provides annual funding to support all Manitoba municipalities to address operating and capital priorities critical to maintaining healthy, sustainable communities. The province has frozen the level of operating funding it provides municipalities at 2016 levels for the past 3 years. This freezing of funding does not recognize the rising costs of municipal operations caused by inflation, downloading of provincial costs, and spiking input costs. The Manitoba Bureau of Statistics reported that Manitoba's Consumer Price Index increased by 1.3% in 2016, 1.6% in 2017, 2.5% in 2018, and in April 2019 was ranked as the second highest in Canada at 2.3%. Municipalities across Manitoba have been working diligently to cut costs and minimizing tax increases to our citizens while sustaining services in our communities, and municipalities desire to be partners with the province in growing Manitoba's economy. It is the administrative recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie support a request to AMM to lobby the province of Manitoba to establish a predictable, long-term system of indexing the annual municipal assistance grant provided to all Manitoba municipalities, and that the rate of this indexing be equal to or greater than the annual rate of the Manitoba Consumer Price Index. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Wall. Questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Draycott.
So just for clarification for everybody in the room, if we approve this, then this will go as a resolution to AMM in November, at which point it would be taken to the full AMM and voted on as a resolution.
Yeah, there's one step in there between convention and November. This resolution will go to the June district meeting, which Councillor Knox is going to attend on our behalf. And any resolutions that are going to make it to the floor for November have to go to district meetings. Earlier this week, I had a conference call with the other 9 mayors, and this was an item that got much discussion, and the request from Portage is that we'd bring it to, would we bring this motion forward, and if passed, bring it to June district meeting. So the expectation, the hope is that it makes it to the floor for debate in November. Other questions or comments on the motion? Okay. And I could tell you in those discussions, this isn't a concern shared just with this city. You heard Mr. Braden's comment, and we know that from living here that there's certainly a lot of work to be done with very, very limited budgets, and having a predictable stream of funding is very important. We balance our books every year, and it's difficult to do that when things keep changing. So this is one of the asks that we have. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We have no old business, so council is adjourned at 7:14 p.m. and we're going to move right into committee. Call committee to order at 7:15 p.m. First up is Finance and Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Meyer, please. Sorry, Councillor Espy.
It's hard to tell.
It's just you guys look so much alike. That's all it is.
Thank you, Worship. The Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Espy. Now, Councillor Meyer, how is city planning and economic development going?
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing to report other than I just want to take one quick second and recognize that when we went around the table, and we certainly appreciate the job that everybody does, I did fail to mention our engineer, city engineer, Director of Operations, Kelly Braden, who I do know puts in insurmountable time and knowledge into the thing. So I just wanted to recognize that as well. Thank you. Other than that, nothing else to report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Draycott.
Thank you, Your Worship. Community Services has nothing this evening.
I just did want to direct a comment your way. I had the privilege of attending Touch Truck last Thursday, and it was very well put together by Victoria Espy and her team at PCRC. And also noticed that the city was well represented. Our fire department had their newest piece of equipment there, and there was 20 or 30 kids inside and outside that piece of equipment the whole time I was there. And operations also had a very huge grader or maintenance, what do you call them, Kelly? Maintainer? Grader? Okay. And it was very popular. So anyway, it looked like it was a very successful event again this year. I think they had over 400 people came, and that was halfway through. So
Well, I
well
would
done.
say that with PCRC, we definitely have a gem in our community. They do put on great events, and not only events, but they do have a lot of things that they do for our community that sometimes go unnoticed that make a huge difference. So
What's it?
Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Waterworks Committee has nothing to report this evening.
You. Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
And the Public Safety Committee, Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing from public safety tonight.
Okay. And committee is adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you for coming out, everybody.